Captain Han Sol stared at the holographic display floating above his command chair. The alien face on the screen belonged to Council Ambassador Veltar, whose 4 eyes glowed with smug satisfaction. The message had been playing on repeat for 2 hours now, but Han Sol could not stop watching it. Your species has proven too aggressive for autonomous governance, the ambassador declared in his cold mechanical voice. Humanity will surrender all military vessels immediately and submit to complete Council oversight. Failure to comply within 72 hours will result in total economic embargo and military intervention. And Sol felt his jaw clench as the message continued. The Council had been building this case against humanity for years, painting them as violent warmongers across every communication channel in the galaxy. Every time humans defended themselves against pirates or slavers, the Council called it aggression. Every time they refused to let innocent people die, the Council labeled them as interfering troublemakers. Behind him, communications officer. The Jinn was monitoring the flood of similar messages coming from across human space. Every human colony, every trading post, every exploration vessel was receiving the same ultimatum. The Council wanted complete surrender, or they would treat humanity as enemies of galactic peace. Captain, the crew is requesting orders, said Lieutenant Tejo from the navigation station. What are we supposed to tell Earth Command? And Sol stood up slowly, feeling the weight of 5 decades of human space exploration pressing down on his shoulders. His grandfather had been among the first humans to make contact with alien civilizations, back when Earth still believed they were alone in the universe. Those early explorers had been so excited to join the galactic community, to learn from species that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. But it had never been equal. The Council treated humans like children who needed constant supervision. They made rules that seemed designed specifically to limit human expansion. When humans developed better farming techniques, the Council created regulations that prevented them from sharing the technology. When human doctors found cures for alien diseases, the Council demanded they hand over all research for approval. Worst part was how they twisted everything. Humans had spent decades building hospitals on alien worlds. The Council called it cultural interference. Humans had established trade routes that brought prosperity to dozens of species. The Council labeled it economic manipulation. Humans had formed a galactic rescue service that saved thousands of lives during natural disasters, the Council claimed. It was a military organization in disguise. Jin looked up from her console. Captain, I am getting reports from the hegemony sector. The alien governments there are already preparing to seize human assets. They think we are going to surrender, of course. They do, Han Sol thought bitterly. The Council had convinced half the galaxy that humans were barely civilized barbarians who only understood force. The other half saw humans as useful tools that could be discarded when they became inconvenient. Nobody seemed to remember who had saved their worlds when the plague struck, or who had fought off the raiders when they came calling. Sir, what are your orders? Asked Chief Engineer Wu Jin from the engine room. We can be ready for combat in 10 minutes. If needed, combat. Han Sol almost laughed at the irony. The Council accused humans of being too aggressive, but their response to every problem was threats and violence. They wanted humanity to surrender their ships and submit to occupation. That sounded pretty aggressive to him. No, Wu Jin, Han Sol said quietly. We are not going to fight them. We are going to do something much worse. The bridge fell silent as everyone waited for their captain to explain. Han Sol walked over to the main view screen where the star map showed human territory scattered across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, hundreds of colonies, millions of people, thousands of ships, all connected by trade routes and communication networks that had taken 50 years to build. Jin, open a channel to Earth Command. Han Sol ordered. Tell them I am requesting an emergency session with the Colonial Council. We need to make this decision together, sir. What decision? Asked Tejo nervously. Han Sol turned to face his crew. These were good people who had dedicated their lives to exploration and peaceful contact with alien species. They had followed every Council regulation, even when it meant watching people suffer. They had tried diplomacy even when the other side refused to. Listen, they had been the perfect galactic citizens, and it had gotten them nothing but contempt. We are going home, he announced. All of us, every human ship, every colony, every outpost. We are withdrawing from galactic civilization completely. The silence that followed was deafening. The Jinn stared at him with wide eyes. Sir, you mean total withdrawal? Exactly, Hansal confirmed. If the Council thinks we are too dangerous to govern ourselves, then we will remove ourselves from their galaxy entirely. No more trade, no more aid, no more cooperation. They want us gone, so we will be gone. But Captain, what about all the people we helped? Protested Dr. Sung Mi from the medical bay. The alien worlds that depend on our medicine, our food, our technology. They should have thought about that before they supported the Council ultimatum, Hansal replied coldly. For 50 years we have followed their rules, respected their authority. Even when it hurt people, we could have helped. We built hospitals, and they called us invaders. We shared our food, and they called us manipulators. We rescued their people, and they called us aggressor. Shulsal began pacing the bridge as his thoughts crystallized into a plan that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The Council wanted to treat humans like unruly children. Well, children could be very effective at getting attention when they decided to run away from home. Jin began composing a message to all human vessels. He ordered, tell them to begin immediate withdrawal from all Council space. All colonies are to begin evacuation procedures. All trade agreements are terminated. All medical aid programs are suspended. All technological assistance is ended, sir. That will cause chaos across dozens of systems. Warned Tahoe. Good, Hansal said with grim satisfaction. Let them experience chaos. Let them try to run their precious galactic civilization without human doctors maintaining their hospitals, without human engineers keeping their hyperspace networks functional, without human farmers feeding their populations. The young officer looked troubled. But sir, many innocent people will suffer, and many innocent people have been suffering while we followed Council rules that prevented us from helping them. Hansal reminded him, the Council made their choice when they decided we were too dangerous to exist as equals. Now they can live with the consequences over the next hour. Hansal composed the message that would change galactic history forever. It was not a declaration of war. That would have been too simple to expected. Instead, it was something far more devastating, a polite professional notice of withdrawal to the Galactic Council and all affiliated species. The message began: the Terran Federation hereby terminates all treaties, agreements, and cooperative arrangements with Council authorities. Effective immediately, all human personnel will withdraw from Council space. All human assets will be recalled or destroyed. All human services will be discontinued. We thank you for teaching us that the galaxy has no place for species who refuse to submit to authority. You have made it clear that human independence is incompatible with galactic peace. Therefore, we choose independence. Not attempt to contact us again. We are no longer interested in your opinions, your rules, or your civilization. You wanted us gone. Congratulations. You have succeeded. Ansal read the message 3 times before authorizing its transmission. Once it was sent, there would be no going back. Humanity would be alone in the galaxy, just as they had been before first contact. But this time they would be alone by choice. Send it, he ordered. As the message transmitted across thousands of star systems, Hansal felt a strange mixture of sadness and relief. They had tried so hard to be good galactic citizens, to prove that humans deserve respect and equality. But the Council had made it clear that submission was the only acceptable form of human participation. Fine, Hansal thought as he watched the stars through the view screen. If they want to see what aggressive really looks like, they are about to find out what happens when you push humanity too far. Admiral So Young received the withdrawal order while her fleet was docked at Kepler Station in the Outer Rim. The massive space station had been humanity's greatest achievement in this sector, a trading hub that connected 17 different star systems and served as home to over 2 million beings from dozens of species. Now she was about to shut it all down, Captain. Donghan stood beside her on the bridge of the flagship Determination, watching as human personnel began the systematic dismantling of everything they had built over the past 20 years. The sight made his stomach turn, but he understood the necessity. Maham, we are getting urgent messages from the station administrator, So Young's communications officer, Lieutenant Taiho, reported. The hegemony representatives are demanding to know why we are pulling out of the trade negotiations. They are offering to double their previous terms. Young almost smiled at the irony. 3 days ago, those same hegemony officials had been among the loudest voices supporting the Council ultimatum. They had called humanity a dangerous influence that needed to be controlled. Now they were panicking as human merchant vessels powered down their docking clamps and prepared for departure. Tell them the negotiations are permanently cancelled, she ordered. All human personnel are to report to evacuation stations immediately. Any alien workers who wish to remain are welcome to try maintaining the station themselves. Donghan pulled up the technical specifications on his tablet. The station required constant maintenance by trained engineers. The fusion reactors needed daily adjustments that only human technicians knew how to perform. The artificial gravity generators used technology that humanity had never shared with other species. Even the water recycling systems were based on designs that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Admiral, the aliens are saying they cannot run the station without our people, Taiho reported. They are requesting that we leave skeleton crews to maintain critical systems. Absolutely not, So Young replied firmly. We are withdrawing completely. No exceptions, no skeleton crews, no maintenance contracts, no technical support. They wanted us gone, so we are leaving across human space. The same scene was playing out on thousands of worlds. Dr. Sunmi stood in her laboratory on New Geneva, watching as her research team packed decades of medical data. The cure for Rigelian fever was 90% complete, but without human scientists it would never be finished. The alien patients in the hospital ward below would die within months, but that was no longer her problem. Council had made it clear that human medical intervention was unwelcome. Cultural interference. Well, now they could experience what their galaxy looked like without that interference on the agricultural world of New Kansas Farmer Park. Jin Woo supervised the shutdown of the massive growing facilities that fed 3 entire star systems. The genetically modified crops that could survive in alien soil conditions had taken 30 years to develop. Now the seeds were being sterilized and the growing equipment dismantled. The alien settlers who had moved to these worlds after humans made them habitable were sending desperate messages offering anything they could think of to make the humans stay. But Jinwoo had his orders. Every piece of human technology, every agricultural technique, every irrigation system was to be removed or destroyed. Engineer Commander Mi Young stood on the observation deck of the hyperspace relay station at Junction Point 7. This single facility managed faster-than-light communications for 12 different species, allowing instant contact across hundreds of light years. Without it, the outer colonies would be cut off from galactic civilization. Alien technicians who worked alongside her had been begging her to stay. They offered her fantastic sums of money, promoted her to chief administrator, promised her anything she wanted. But Mi Young just shook her head and continued entering the shutdown codes. Relay Station used quantum entanglement technology that humanity had developed in secret. The aliens knew how to operate it, but they had no idea how to maintain or repair it. Once the human engineers left, the entire network would gradually collapse. Captain High One commanded the merchant vessel Prosperity as it undocked from Commerce Station Alpha for the final time. Her cargo holds were full of medicines and advanced electronics that entire worlds depended on. Now those goods were heading back to human space, along with every other human trade ship in the galaxy. The economic impact would be devastating. High One knew that human trade represented nearly 40% of the galactic economy. Human manufacturers produced everything from basic tools to complex starship components. Human farmers grew food that kept billions fed, human miners extracted rare elements that powered alien technology. All of it was going away on the frontier world of Haven Colony. Commander Yuna oversaw the evacuation of 50,000 human colonists. The world had been a barren rock when they arrived. Now it bloomed with earth plants and teemed with imported wildlife. The terraforming equipment that made it possible was being systematically destroyed to prevent alien species from reverse engineering the technology. The local alien population had grown dependent on human infrastructure. Human-built power plants provided electricity. Human-designed water treatment facilities made the rivers safe to drink. Human medical clinics treated diseases that native healers could not cure. Soon it would all be gone at. The Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime emergency sessions ran around the clock. Council member Kexivil paced frantically as reports flooded in from across known space. Every human facility was shutting down. Every human service was being terminated. Every piece of human technology was being recalled or destroyed. The humans are not responding to any communications, he reported to the emergency assembly. It is as if they have simply vanished from Galactic Civilization. Council member Yilgran reviewed the economic projections with growing horror. 17 industrial worlds would lose power within weeks without human-maintained fusion reactors. The medical crisis alone would kill millions as human doctors abandoned their posts and took their knowledge with them. Perhaps, suggested Council member Zarthek. We were too hasty with our ultimatum. We could offer to negotiate, but every attempt to contact human leadership met with the same automated response. The message was polite, professional, and absolutely final. The Terran Federation is no longer accepting communications from Galactic Council members or affiliated species. Please direct all inquiries to your local council representative back in human space. The withdrawal was proceeding with military precision. Fleet Admiral Kyung-Soo coordinated the largest evacuation in galactic history. Every human civilian, every piece of equipment, every scrap of technology was being pulled back to Earth-controlled territory. The logistics were staggering. Thousands of ships carrying millions of people, moving across hundreds of light years. But humanity had learned efficiency during their decades of space colonization. Now that same organizational skill was being used to abandon the galaxy. They had helped build General Jinwoo, reviewed intelligence reports from across former human territory. The alien governments were beginning to panic as the full scope of human withdrawal became clear. Critical systems were failing, infrastructure was collapsing, entire economies built around human goods and services were grinding to a halt. Good, he thought grimly. Let them experience what they asked for. Irony was not lost on him. The Council had accused humanity of being too aggressive and controlling. Now they were discovering what the galaxy looked like without human control, without human doctors fighting plagues, without human engineers maintaining infrastructure, without human farmers preventing famines. Captain Biori commanded the last human vessel still operating in Council space. Her mission was to observe and report on the collapse that was already beginning. The great trading station where she was docked had lost half its docking capacity as human merchant ships. Departed alien crews were trying desperately to maintain the systems that humans had built, but they lacked the knowledge and experience. 20 years of technological dependence had left them helpless without human support. As Biori prepared to depart, she watched alien officials running frantically through the corridors, trying to organize some kind of response. But what could they do? The humans were not breaking any laws. They were not attacking anyone. They were simply leaving, and that was the most terrifying thing of all. The Council had expected resistance. They had prepared for war. They had mobilized fleets to force human compliance. But how do you fight an enemy that refuses to fight? How do you control a species that simply walks away? As the last human ship jumped to hyperspace, the Great Silence truly began. For the first time in 50 years, no human voices could be heard on galactic communication networks. No human ships moved through Council space. No human aid reached alien worlds. In crisis, the galaxy suddenly felt very empty and very quiet. Commander Min stood on the bridge of the transport ship, Liberation watching through the viewport as the last human evacuation shuttle left the surface of Kepler 442b. Below them, the automated systems were already beginning the systematic destruction of the terraforming equipment that had transformed this dead world into a garden paradise. The irony was bitter. Min had spent 5 years of his life making this planet habitable. He had breathed life into barren soil, created rivers where none existed, and filled empty skies with earthbirds. Now he was watching it all die because the Council had decided humanity was too dangerous to exist freely. Sir, we are receiving emergency transmissions from the surface, reported communications officer. Yuna, the Zalari colonists are begging us to leave the atmospheric processors running. They say without them the planet will return to toxic conditions within 6 months. Min felt a pang of sympathy for the alien settlers. They had arrived after humans did all the hard work, turning poison air into breathable atmosphere and dead ground into fertile farmland. They were innocent victims of the Council decision, but that did not change anything. Continue with the shutdown procedures, he ordered. The Council wanted us gone, so we are taking everything we built with us. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as the true scope of human withdrawal became clear. On New Byzantium, the massive manufacturing plants that produced starship components for dozens of species went dark without human technicians to operate them. On Sanctuary, the medical facilities that had been treating a planetary plague for 3 years sealed their doors as human doctors completed their evacuation. The plague cure had been 90% complete. Dr. Sunmi thought bitterly as her research ship jumped to hyperspace. 3 years of work saving millions of lives, and the Council had forced her to abandon it 6 months before completion. Now those people would die because their government had supported humanity's forced submission. At the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, the emergency sessions had become continuous. Council member Veltar paced frantically before the assembly as reports poured in from across known space. Each one painted a more desperate picture than the last 17. Star systems have lost primary life support, he announced, his 4 eyes wide with panic. The Rigelian colonies are reporting complete agricultural collapse without human-designed crop strains. The hegemony industrial sector has shut down entirely because they cannot maintain the fusion reactors. Council member Yil Gran studied the economic projections with growing horror. In just 2 months, the galactic economy had contracted by 60%. Entire trade routes had collapsed without human merchant vessels to carry goods between systems. Planets that had prospered for decades were facing starvation and economic ruin. But surely they will respond to reason. Yilgran protested. We could offer them concessions, modify the original ultimatum. Every attempt at communication had failed. The humans had established a complete communications blackout. They were not accepting messages, not responding to diplomatic overtures, not even acknowledging that the Council existed. It was as if humanity had simply erased itself from galactic civilization. On the frontier world of New Darwin, Commander Biora supervised the final phase of human withdrawal. The terraforming equipment that had taken 20 years to install was being systematically dismantled. The colonists who had built their lives on this world watched helplessly as their future crumbled. Mom, the local government is offering us full planetary autonomy, reported Lieutenant Tejo. They say we can govern ourselves completely if we will just leave the infrastructure intact. Bora shook her head. The Council had made it clear that human autonomy was unacceptable. Well, now they could experience what happened when humans took that autonomy by force. Rather than submit to alien oversight, humanity was choosing complete independence. No deals, no compromises, she replied. If they wanted to control us, they should have thought about the consequences. First, the withdrawal was not just physical but technological. Every piece of human innovation was being recalled or destroyed. Quantum computers that managed planetary communications networks were shut down and their components scattered. Gravity generators that allowed comfortable living on high-gravity worlds were dismantled. Medical scanners that could detect diseases at the cellular level were recalled to human space. Captain Dong Hyen commanded the heavy transport reclamation as it stripped valuable equipment from the research station on Titan 7. The alien scientists who worked there had contributed to joint research projects for years, but now they watched in despair as decades of collaborative work was erased. The humans are taking everything, observed Dr. Kethmar, the station's hegemony chief scientist. Even the basic laboratory equipment that we helped pay for, that equipment was designed using human technology principles, explained human researcher Dr. Mi Young as she supervised the removal. We cannot leave anything that might allow reverse engineering of our innovations. Alien scientists had assumed that knowledge once shared became common property, but humans have been careful to retain control of the fundamental principles behind their technology. Now that control was being exercised with devastating effect on the mining world of New Titan, extraction operations ground to a halt as human engineers shut down the deep core drilling equipment. The rare elements essential for modern technology stopped flowing into galactic markets. Within days, the price of basic electronic components skyrocketed across known space. We built this entire operation from nothing, reflected Chief Engineer Wu Jin as he watched the massive drilling platforms being dismantled. We brought the technology, the expertise, the equipment. Now they can try to extract these elements using their own methods. The alien mining companies had never developed deep core extraction technology. They had relied on human innovation to access resources buried kilometers beneath planetary surfaces. Without that technology, entire worlds would lose their primary source of income. At the Council Emergency Coordination Center administrator Kex Val reviewed intelligence reports with growing desperation. Human space had gone completely dark. No communications, no trade, no contact of any kind. It was as if an entire civilization had simply vanished. The Border Monitoring Station's report. Something strange, he announced to the assembled council members. Human vessels are still moving within their territory, but they are not responding to any attempts at contact. It's like they have become ghosts. The psychological impact was devastating. The Council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years through a combination of political pressure and economic control. But how do you pressure a species that refuses to participate? How do you control an economy that operates completely independently? Intelligence reports suggested that human colonies were not just surviving, but thriving without galactic trade. The withdrawal had forced them to become completely self-sufficient, and early reports indicated they were succeeding beyond all expectations. Captain Hansal reviewed progress reports from across human space as his ship patrolled the new border between human territory and the rest of the galaxy. The forced withdrawal had triggered a technological renaissance as human scientists and engineers worked frantically to replace everything they had previously imported from alien sources. Within months, they had not only replaced those imports, but improved upon them, free from council regulations that had restricted research into certain areas. Human science was advancing at an unprecedented pace. New propulsion systems, more efficient manufacturing processes, revolutionary medical treatments, all developed in secret during decades of council oversight, were now being deployed openly. Sir, we are detecting council probe ships near the border, reported Navigator Yuna. They appear to be testing our response. Hansal smiled grimly. The council was finally beginning to understand what they had created. By demanding human submission, they had forced humanity to become truly independent, and independent humans were far more dangerous than humans trying to follow galactic law. Monitor them closely, he ordered, but do not engage unless they cross the border. The council wanted to see what aggressive humans looked like. Soon they would have their answer. The great irony was becoming clear. The council had called humanity aggressive for defending themselves against pirates and helping aliens in crisis. Now that humans were truly angry, the galaxy was about to learn the difference between human compassion and human wrath. The reckoning had begun, and the council was starting to realize they had made a terrible mistake. General Kyung-Soo stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface, watching intelligence reports flow in from across the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the Great Silence began, and the results exceeded even his most optimistic projections. The galactic economy had collapsed entirely. 17 star systems had declared independence from the Council, and 3 major species had withdrawn from the galactic government in protest, but the Council was not giving up. Esalimem, we have confirmed movement of Council battle fleets near our borders, reported intelligence officer Dayun. At least 40 dreadnoughts supported by hundreds of smaller vessels. They appear to be massing for some kind of military action. Kyungsu was not surprised. The Council had tried diplomacy, then economic pressure, then desperate pleas for negotiation. Now they were preparing to use the only tool they had left: brute force. It was exactly what she had expected from beings who called humans aggressive while preparing to invade human space. Let them come, she said quietly. They are about to learn why we were called dangerous in the first place. Truth was that humanity had been holding back for 50 years. Following Council regulations meant restricting their military technology to approved levels, never developing weapons that might make alien species uncomfortable, never building defenses that could not be easily countered by Council forces. Now those restrictions were gone. Captain Minho commanded the patrol ship Vengeance as it monitored the border near the Titan system. His orders were simple: any alien vessel entering human space would be destroyed immediately, without warning, without negotiation, without mercy. The days of human patience were over, sir. I have a contact, reports Sensor Officer the Jin. It's a Council research vessel claiming to be on a diplomatic mission. Minho checked his instruments. The alien ship was small, lightly armed with defensive shields designed to stop conventional weapons. It carried the diplomatic markings that had once guaranteed safe passage through human space. But those days were gone. Alien vessel, you are entering restricted space, he transmitted. Turn back immediately, or you will be destroyed. The Council ship continued forward as expected. Its captain probably believed that humans would never fire on a diplomatic vessel, that their natural compassion would prevent them from attacking scientists and negotiators. The captain was wrong. Minho activated weapon systems that the Council had never seen before: particle beam arrays that could disrupt matter at the atomic level, quantum torpedoes that phased through conventional shields, energy weapons that operated on principles the aliens had never imagined. The Council ship simply vanished, its atoms scattered across space in less than a second. Similar encounters happened all along the human border. Every Council probe that entered human territory met the same fate: instant destruction, with no survivors to report what they had seen. The message was clear: humans were no longer playing by galactic rules. Within days, word spread through Council space. Humanity had not just withdrawn from galactic civilization, they had become something far more dangerous. They were no longer the helpful rule-following species the Council remembered. They had become ghosts, striking without warning and disappearing back into their forbidden space. At the Council war room, Admiral Velthor studied tactical reports with growing unease. Every ship they sent to human space was destroyed, but they never saw what destroyed them. Human vessels appeared on sensors for only seconds before vanishing again. Their technology seemed to have advanced decades beyond anything the Council possessed. How is this possible? He demanded of his technical advisors 6 months ago. We had detailed intelligence on human military capabilities. Now they are using weapons we have never encountered. The answer was becoming clear. Humans had been developing advanced military technology in secret for decades, always careful to hide their true capabilities, always pretending to be less advanced than they actually were. The Council had thought they knew human limitations, but they had been deceived. On the border station, Iron Will Admiral Neri coordinated humanity's new defensive strategy. The Council had made one critical error in their assumptions. They believed that human technology was roughly equal to their own based on what humans had shared over the years. They had no idea what humans had kept hidden. Report from Sector 7 Mam announced. Communications Officer Teho, another Council squadron attempted border penetration. All vessels destroyed. No survivors. Neri nodded with satisfaction. The Council was learning that the old rules no longer applied. Humans had spent decades being careful not to seem too threatening, limiting their technological displays to avoid making aliens uncomfortable now. Humanity was showing what they could really do. The psychological warfare was devastating. Council crews began refusing missions near human space. Stories spread of entire fleets vanishing without trace, of ships destroyed by invisible weapons, of humans who fought like demons and showed no mercy. But the real war was economic. The Council had assumed they could eventually force human compliance through blockade and embargo. Instead, they discovered that human space was completely self-sufficient. The withdrawal had forced rapid technological advancement, and humans were now producing everything they needed. Captain High One commanded a merchant convoy traveling between human colonies. Her cargo holds carried goods that would have cost fortunes. In Council space, medical supplies that could cure diseases thought incurable, manufacturing equipment that operated with impossible efficiency, food crops that could grow in environments previously thought barren, all of it available only to humans. Now the contrast was stark. Human colonies were thriving with new technology improving life for everyone, while alien worlds struggled with failing infrastructure and economic collapse. The Council had thought they were punishing humanity, but instead, they had punished themselves. Commander J-Min reviewed intelligence reports from deep inside Council territory. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. Multiple species were questioning Council authority. Some were even requesting permission to negotiate separate agreements with humanity. Of course, the Council refused such negotiations. They had painted themselves into a corner by declaring humanity too dangerous for normal diplomatic relations. Now they could not back down without admitting their entire justification had been wrong. The irony was perfect. The Council had accused humans of being aggressive and uncontrollable. Now that humans were actually being aggressive and uncontrollable, the Council was discovering they had no effective response. Dr. Sunmi worked in her new laboratory on Luna, developing medical technologies that surpassed anything she had created while following Council regulations. The forced withdrawal had freed human science from decades of restrictions, and the results were revolutionary. She thought about the alien patients she had been forced to abandon when the withdrawal began. They were probably dead now, victims of Council pride and stupidity. But that was no longer her concern. Humanity had learned the hard way that helping aliens only led to accusations of interference. Captain Bora patrolled the outer edge of human space in the stealth ship Shadow. Her mission was reconnaissance, gathering intelligence on Council activities while remaining completely invisible. The technology that made this possible had been developed in secret during years of Council oversight. The technology that made this possible had been developed in secret during years of Council oversight. Completely invisible. The technology that made this possible. Aliens had no idea humans possessed such capabilities. They still thought in terms of conventional warfare with visible ships and predictable tactics. They were about to learn that humans had been studying different kinds of conflict. Ma'am, I am detecting massive Council fleet movements, reported Sensor Officer Yune. It looks like they are preparing for a major offensive against our territory. Rebo smiled coldly. Let them come, she thought. The Council was about to discover the difference between human restraint and human capability. They had spent 50 years dealing with humans who were trying to be good galactic citizens. Now they would face humans who no longer cared what the galaxy thought. The silent war was about to become very loud and very one-sided. The Council had pushed humanity too far, and now they would learn what that really meant. The age of human compliance was over, and the age of human independence was beginning, with weapons that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy forever. 1 year after the Great Silence began, Ambassador Veltar made the journey that would define the future of galactic civilization. His ship, the Reconciliation, carried the most desperate message in Council history, a complete surrender disguised as a peace offering. The human border had changed dramatically since his last visit. Massive defense stations floated in the void like sleeping giants. their weapon arrays capable of destroying entire fleets, sensor networks that could detect approaching vessels from light years away, created an impenetrable barrier around human space. This was not the same humanity that had left the galaxy 12 months ago. This was something harder, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. Human vessels, this is Council. Ambassador Veltar, requesting permission to enter your space for urgent diplomatic negotiations. The response came from Admiral Nari aboard the battle station. Iron will, her voice carried an edge that made the ambassador's 4 hearts race with fear. Ambassador, humans no longer engage in formal diplomacy with Council species. State your business quickly, or leave our territory. Veltar had prepared for this moment, but the cold finality in her voice still shocked him. The humans he remembered had been eager to please, always willing to negotiate, always hoping for peaceful solutions. We wish to discuss an end to the current crisis, he began carefully. The galaxy desperately needs human participation to survive. There was a long pause. During that silence, Veltar could see the massive weapons arrays of the human station tracking his ship. He was completely at their mercy, and everyone knew it. Ambassador, the galaxy made its choice when it decided we were too dangerous to govern ourselves. Admiral Neri replied, you wanted us gone, and we obliged. The crisis you speak of is not our problem, it is yours. But surely we can reach some arrangement. Pressed Veltar, the Council is prepared to offer significant concessions. Neri's image appeared on the main screen. Her face was harder than the ambassador remembered, marked by a year of isolation and technological advancement. Behind her, the bridge of the station hummed with equipment that seemed decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. There is no arrangement, she said quietly. There is no negotiation. There's only the new reality you created. Veltar felt desperation rising in his throat. The reports from across Council space painted a picture of complete collapse. Industrial worlds shutting down, agricultural systems failing, medical crises claiming millions of lives, entire species questioning why they should remain part of a galactic government that had caused such catastrophe. Humanity has learned to exist without the galaxy. Nari continued, the question you should be asking is whether the galaxy can learn to exist without humanity. The words hit like physical blows. Veltar had come hoping to find some remnant of human compassion, some willingness to help their former galactic neighbors, but the woman staring at him from the screen showed no emotion, no sympathy, no recognition that billions of innocent beings were suffering. What do you want? He asked finally. Nothing. Nari replied, we want nothing from you, nothing from the Council, nothing from any species that supported our forced submission. We are completely self-sufficient. Now that was the most terrifying part. Intelligence reports confirmed that human space was not just surviving, but thriving. The forced isolation had triggered a technological renaissance that left human capabilities far beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Veltar tried one last desperate appeal. What about the people who are dying? The worlds that are collapsing? Your own former patients and research subjects. Nari's expression did not change. They should have considered that before supporting the Council ultimatum. We warned everyone what would happen if they pushed us too far. Nobody listened. The ambassador's ship was escorted back to the border with a final message that would be remembered as the moment galactic civilization truly died. Humanity will continue to defend itself against any intrusion, but we will not return to the galactic community. The Council taught us that the galaxy is not worth saving on Earth. President Jinwu addressed the human worlds in a speech that would define the new age. Today marks 1 year since we chose independence over subjugation. Our colonies are thriving, our people are free, and our technology advances without restriction. The speech was broadcast on open frequencies, ensuring every species in the galaxy would hear it. Human space had become a beacon of prosperity and advancement, while the rest of the galaxy struggled with poverty and technological stagnation. We have proven that humanity needs no council, no oversight, no alien authority to prosper, he continued. To those who called us aggressive, we say this: you have seen nothing yet. To those who demanded our submission, we offer only silence. The most important part came at the end. Though the age of human compliance is over, the age of human independence has begun. In the depths of space, automated human probes were already seeding new worlds with terraforming equipment. Humanity was expanding again, but this time they would never make the mistake of sharing their achievements with those who would use them as weapons. Captain Han Sol, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, commanded the exploration fleet that pushed deeper into unknown space. Every new world they found was claimed for humanity alone. No alien species would be permitted to settle on human terraformed worlds. No human technology would be shared with galactic civilization. The irony was complete. The Council had forced humanity to become exactly what they had accused them of being: aggressive, territorial, uncompromising, and completely indifferent to alien suffering. But unlike the old humanity, this new version had no interest in proving they were good galactic citizens. They had learned that such efforts only led to demands for submission. Admiral So Young patrolled the border in the newest class of human warship vessels that incorporated technology developed during the year of isolation. The quantum drives could cross the galaxy in days. The weapon systems could destroy planets. The defensive arrays made them effectively invincible. Sir, we are detecting a massive Council fleet approaching the border, reported her tactical officer Lieutenant Tejo. Over 200 vessels, including their newest dreadnought. So Young felt no concern. The Council still thought in terms of conventional warfare. They had no idea what human weapons could really do after a year of unrestricted development. Let them come, she ordered. They want to see what dangerous humans look like. They are about to get their wish. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, 200 Council ships had been reduced to scattered atoms while the human fleet remained completely undamaged. The message was clear: humanity had moved so far beyond galactic military technology that resistance was futile. News of the defeat spread rapidly through Council space. Within days, 3 more species announced their withdrawal from the galactic government. Several others began secret negotiations to establish independent relationships with humanity. The old order was crumbling, and everyone knew it, but humanity was no longer interested in galactic politics. They had found something better: complete independence from a civilization that had never appreciated their contributions. Darmi Young worked in her new research facility, developing technologies that would have seemed like magic a year ago. The freedom to pursue any line of research without Council approval had unleashed human creativity in ways that surprised even the scientists themselves. She thought occasionally about the alien colleagues she had left behind, probably struggling with equipment they could not maintain, using theories they did not fully understand, but that was their choice. They had supported the Council decision. Now they could live with the consequences. The final phase of human expansion began with the launch of colony ships toward distant galaxies, places where humanity could build new civilizations without any alien interference. The Milky Way belonged to the Council and the dozens of species who had chosen submission over independence. Humanity was moving on to bigger and better things. Commander Yuna stood on the observation deck of the Generation ship, New Horizon, watching the stars of human space fade behind them. Ahead lay an entire galaxy waiting to be explored and settled by beings who valued freedom over security. The Council had pushed humanity too far, and now they would never get them back. The Great Silence would continue forever, a reminder that some species could not be controlled, only driven away, and in the empty space where human voices once carried messages of hope and cooperation, there was only silence and the growing realization that the galaxy had destroyed the one thing that had made it worth saving.